England under 19 international Reece Russell Denny leaves Chelsea to join Tottenham with a formal announcement to follow on Tuesday. We seem to be signing a lot of players for our academy in this transfer window as well, because Dan Kilpatrick says that Tottenham have agreed to sign young Liverpool centre-half Luca Fernal-Gill. The 18-year-old is set to bolster numbers in the club's academy and should be announced in a double deal with midfielder Daniel Batty, also 18 from Man City, before the deadline. The pair are not to be considered for Ange Postecoglou's first-team squad this season. So that's 3 signings, one from Chelsea, one from Man City, one from Liverpool, all for the academy, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we're bolstering the academy again. Maybe we're seeing how well a lot of our academy prospects obviously did last year and how well they're doing on loan this year. And now this season, with all those high flyers doing, obviously left the under 21s and now the under 21s are struggling, maybe we could do with some reinforcing, I guess, in the academy. And that's what they're thinking.
Yeah. With the likes of all the loan players coming back next season as well. I mean, there's going to be some hard decisions to make, isn't there?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I think it should be it's decisions you want. It's decisions you want to make. And if if there are players that you have to let go of, then hopefully you can make some money off them. That's that's what City do. That's what Chelsea do, and that's what we've got to start doing and making real use of these academy prospects and if they're good. Obviously, the golden thing would the what you really want is for them to have a pathway to the first team and have them, you can use them and then be good enough. But the reality is, albeit even if you are good enough for the Premier League, doesn't mean if we want to be a top 4 or whatever, challenging for big things, you have to be good enough for that to be part of the first team. So that's obviously very, very difficult. So even if you've got, like, let's say a mid-table Premier League player there, and you can get him, you can get rid of him for 15, 20, like we did with Ollie Skip, got 25 million for him, then that's what we've got to start doing.
Also, some concerning news coming out about Van de Ven. Nothing confirmed or anything like that, but there are reports saying that he is injured. He wasn't rested for the Brentford game, and he actually did pick up an injury. I'm not sure whether it was in the game or if it was in training or something like that. But that follows on the news that Dragusin was confirmed to have done his ACL as well. So that's come out. And on top of that, Romero, obviously we know about having the setback. So it doesn't look like there's much respite for the centre-back situation.
Yeah, so when it comes to Van de Ven, what we do know, what we not confirmed, but Paul O'Keefe was on Last One on Spurs tonight, and he was talking about the situation. He said, on Saturday, I was told Mickey went to the management and said that he didn't feel right. As far as I understood, they were just investigating it and they thought it might be sensible for him not to be risked versus Brentford. I know he is struggling with recovery. So that is what Paul O'Keefe said about Van de Ven. Then after he said that, he kind of started breaking through some, ITKs, quote unquote, that he has picked up an injury, and some even suggesting could be serious. He could need an operation. Some fans are saying that, and that was put to Paul O'Keefe live on stream, and he said that's not what he's heard personally. Maybe things have changed since he's last heard, but from what he's last heard, they don't know yet if it's a serious issue. All he heard was that he just doesn't feel right. He didn't think he was injured, but he just thought it would best be rest for Saturday. Now there's one person, I think, that Spurs Army tweets. They're saying they've got some information that Van de Ven is injured, and now there is another account. I've just lost it. It was one of these other kind of news accounts. They've also tweeted out saying, we've also heard from a source that it is true that he's injured and it doesn't look good. So, I mean, it kind of, something tells me there's no smoke without fire. He was left out of the squad and on the weekend, albeit Ange said he wasn't injured and Michael Bridge saying he wasn't injured, but all this coming out, and also you couple in with the fact that we seemed very desperate to get another centre-back in late in that window. We were going for anyone. We're going for Disassi. We're going for this. We're going for that. Paul O'Keefe saying we were going up we had about 8 centre backs kind of in line, and if it was just Dragoshin injured, as much as I think we probably need another centre back, we'll be that desperate for one. We would still had Danso, Van der Ven, Romero, and Ben Davis. So we're still in fairly good.
Romero's had a setback. We don't know how long that setback is.
I know. I'm just saying. He's. Ange said he's healing a bit slower. We'll have to wait and see about Romero. I'm just saying. Hopefully it won't be too long. Maybe he's also been worse than expected. Well, I'm saying let's say if Romero's back in, let's say, a couple of weeks, we would have had Danso, Romero, Van der Ven, and Ben Davis. So we're not in like the worst situation. It's not like the worst situation you can think of. It's not great, but you can think of worse situations. But if Van der Ven's injury is true, and they've heard before the window closed that he actually is injured and he's going to need an operation, and if that is true, that could very well end his season. Then I can understand this mad dash for another centre back just to get some cover, because we're going to be extremely short if Van der Ven's also picked up an injury. So look, just to say, none of this is confirmed. We don't know any of this for sure about any length or any truth, if he's genuinely injured or if they're just being careful or what. But just in my opinion, something tells me there's no smoke without fire here, and I'm just hoping that it's all just either overblown or not true.
If he is injured, I mean, how many games has he played this season? Like 8? Something like that?
9, I think. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's just injury after injury after injury, and it's massively concerning on Van der Ven. And, Dragoshin, we're not going to see him again for the rest of the season. So it's actually going to be some heavy weight on Danso to deliver straight away, isn't there?
Also, if it kind of makes sense when you think about the whole Guehi bid, 70 million. I mean, that kind of makes sense if Van der Ven is injured. I would say, because why would they commit such a massive fee in January so late in the window for a player who's going to be long term one of our top centre back, one of our top first choices? I would say, if there wasn't something else going on behind the scenes. So all logic points to it is probably true, to be honest. If I was to put money on one of the outcomes, it probably makes more sense that it is true than it isn't. But at the moment, we don't know. In terms of what you asked, it's going to put more pressure on Dan. So yeah, he's probably going to. There was a question mark on Thursday. Is he going to be? Will he be thrown in? Yes or no? And now the question is, who's he going to partner? I think on Thursday is the question at the moment.
Well, it could be Gray and Davis again, but I think it will be Danso.
I think he's going to throw Danso in. I know Gray's done well, but he's an 18-year-old who's played so much football, who's not a natural centre-back, and I think he's better off playing the experienced guy there for a big game on Thursday, and then rather than relying on Archie Gray at Anfield.
All of a sudden, you look at it now, it's like, can we rely on Van der Ven now to keep fit, to recover from these injuries and come back? I mean, it's just like so many recurring injuries this season. Last season, he had 2 hamstrings. One was really bad, and one of them wasn't so bad. Did he have 2 or 3 hamstrings last season?
He had one 3-monther, and then he had another one in the second half of the season. I think only kept him out for like a game or 2.
And then this year, it's just been never-ending problems for Van der Ven, and it's just like, you see him play, and he just like that first half against Elfsborg, you're just like, wow, it's so good to have Van der Ven in the team. And every time he plays, that's what it feels like. And then he's out for another bloody week, another bloody month, another bloody 2 months. And it's just so frustrating with Van der Ven because he's such a good player. Such a good player. But us at Spurs, we can't have nice things.
Well, look, I don't want to talk about as if we know it's definitely true. Oh, what's just happened? I've gone off for some reason.
Just turn your camera off.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. So my camera just went off out of nowhere. I don't want to talk about this injury as if we know that he's definitely injured and we know how long for or anything like that. Because the reality is we don't know if it's a hamstring. We don't know what it is. If he is injured as well, it could be something unlucky. It could be that he has pulled his hamstring. But if worst case scenario is true and he has injured his hamstring again, and that's what's caused the problem, and he needs like surgery on his hamstring, then I think it's safe to say that we're going to have to spend big on another centre back on top of maybe even Romero leaving in the summer, because the reality is, as much as I love him, as much as I want him to work, and as much as I really think he's a top centre back, if his hamstring can't be relied upon, then what can we do? We can't sit around and wait for him to get fit all the time and be kind of counting the cost of that every season. We're going to have to either move on from him or kind of have adequate cover, so that, let's say, if he's fit for 20-25 games a season, then you kind of make use of that. I don't know if that's a real situation you should be kind of going forward for. But then again, if he's that injury prone, it's going to be hard to get the good money that you're going to want for him. But it's sad if it's true. If there is truth to, if it is a hamstring or anything like that, then it's gutting. It really is, because the guy can't seem to play 45 minutes at the moment without picking up some sort of injury. So let's hope to God that it isn't true. Let's hope to God if it is an injury, it's not a hamstring and it's something else that's going to keep him out. Let's hope if he is injured as well that it's not a serious injury and maybe it's just a knock or something he's picked up that won't be too long. So it's all will have to all be revealed, let's say. But yeah, I think it is. I think at the moment it's not safe to say, but it's at the moment it does seem as though that, or I should say, all signs are pointing towards there might be some sort of injury.
And David Heitner says that in the summer, Spurs are going to revisit the Mark Guehi situation, and in the summer he'll have a year left in his contract, and that's where Levy likes him, doesn't he? With a year left in his contract, can get potential good value there. We bid, what was it, 50, 60, 70 million in this January transfer window. You'd probably say we'll probably go in a bit less, at like maybe 50, 55 million with a year left in his contract. And I'd love to see him at the club.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be a lot of competition. We know Newcastle went hard for him last summer. So, and I'm sure they'll do it again because they just sold Kelly and they're probably going to need another centre back. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of competition, but I'd absolutely take him. I think he's a top centre back. I think he's been really consistent for Palace. I think he'd be really good for us. So I think he's improving year on year. I'll definitely look for him in the summer. But yeah, something tells me the fact we went for 70 million, which is probably over what he's valued, especially with 18 months left on his deal, that kind of smacks a bit of desperation to me. And why would you be so desperate if there wasn't any truth to the Van de Ven injury? That's kind of, well, unless he's fine and there's Romero's way worse than we think, and he's also going to be out for a while. Maybe that's truth to that. Either way, something's up, I think.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, at the start of this season, or maybe not the start of this season, but at some points last season, you thought you had your centre back pairing for the next few years at least, and now you're thinking about, can we rely on Van de Ven? Is Cuti Romero going to want to push for a move this summer? And it's like these kind of situations are really up in the air now, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's not great because centre backs is the position you want a settled partnership. That's one where it's the bedrock of many successful teams, is just having that solid partnership at centre back consistently. And that's something that, especially since Ange's come in, we just haven't had. And the fact that, the fact was so frustrating is, we were so close to just having them both back fit and back playing again. Obviously, we had that Chelsea incident where they both came back and got injured in the same game. And then we've been waiting for both of them to return. And it just seemed we were just on the precipice of both of them returning. And it looks as though it's going to be snatched away from us again, just as we thought it was going to be back. So couldn't be more frustrating, to be honest, and couldn't be more devastating. On top of that, as you say, Dragoshin's injury, keeping him out for the whole season, which is gutting for him, makes the options we have even worse. So if Van de Ven's injured, you're looking at Danso and Gray until Romero's back. Sorry, Danso and Davis, with Gray who's back up until one of Van de Ven or Romero gets fit again, and who knows when that's going to be. So you could argue, is that better than Dragoshin and Gray? Probably. So at least we should be in a better position with those two than we were for the last 2 months, but still going to be heavily relying on those players.
Well, all will be revealed in the coming days and weeks, that's for sure. Maybe they should have, tried to recall Ashley Phillips or something, because we just need numbers in that position. But that's where we're at. Nothing confirmed as of yet, but it looks like Van de Ven could have suffered another injury. Spurs are going to reassess Mark Guehi in the summer, and Spurs are also trying to fill up that academy again. Someone's brought in from Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, all 18-year-olds that are not going to be featured in the first team this season, but look, hopefully with a view to feature over the coming years. But that's it from us today. We'll see you back in the studio tomorrow. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always,
Come on,
on
you
Spurs.
Spurs.